Hello, everybody, and welcome in to this AFC South show 153 here on Curtis Podcast Network. I'm the host of this channel. My name is Curtis. I'm also the host of That Real Texas Team podcast, covering everything Houston Texans. With me, as always, our resident Jaguars fan, Isaiah Michelli.
Is that my cue?
That's your cue.
Oh, hello. My teleprompter is off. I'm sorry, I froze up. I'm Isaiah. I'm host of Third and Teal. We do Jaguars content. If you missed your Jeff and Isaiah beef, it still happens every once in a while. Just you got to watch both shows, so subscribe to both. It's fun. We've been growing pretty quick. We've been having a good time. Me, Trevor, and Eric. We do our thing. We'll be at the games. Y'all want to come say hey? Awesome. If you don't, cool. Whatever. We don't like you anyways, so don't come out. I'm gonna kick it off over to who am I kicking it to?
I'll just kick it to Jeff here. Jeff, our resident Colts fan, as well as
I'm the host of Unstable. We, some exciting. It's slowly growing, but we'd like it to be faster. But all good things take time. We just added Justin, he's another Houstonian, another Colts fan, has been for many years. And he's also really into fantasy football, so we're trying to kind of add that aspect into our podcast.
Fantasy too.
A little fantasy.
Yeah.
And fantasy football.
Minus the football, yeah.
Gone for a while. Now he's back, repping our Titans. B squared, a.k.a. Blake.
Missed you.
I missed you guys. It's been a long time since I've seen your faces.
It's been a minute.
I know. I feel like it's been years, and then Curtis traveled back in time, and he looks like a 13-year-old boy. Beautiful young man. Not that 13-year-old boys are beautiful, but you're an exception.
No. You already said it, and it's on the internet.
It's there forever.
So, Blake is our former host of Titans Takeaways. You can go check out Titans Takeaways at Titans Takeaways 1. You can check out Unstabled at Unstabled 1, at Third and Teal, and then at That Real Texas Team podcast for all of our podcasting. And that's the network that is Curtis Podcast Network. It does work. We're currently here on CPN at 457 subscribers. Been kind of a quiet off season. We've been doing one a month. So we're going to be doing 2 of these a week, as well as 2 a week for each of our individual shows. So hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. With that being said, it's been a month since I've seen you guys. How we doing? What's cracking?
Good, just working, grinding. It's been glad to be back in football, and it's been a long off season, just weeks of nothing, and then you'll see like a pocket of like splash signings, and nothing, and then injuries, and then nothing. So I'm glad like this is the last Sunday without football until February.
Yeah. I mean, we got college football back. Week 1 is this Saturday, so I mean,
it's kind of BS though. It's Tennessee is playing UTC.
I know
it's something. It's like preseason football.
It's college preseason, but the college preseason can happen in week 7 as well.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. They just throw in scrubs to make the numbers look better, I think. But I think those shitty teams actually get a pretty big check when they play those big.
Oh
teams.
Yeah. Like UTC, they just got a new library.
There you go.
Florida put lights in Presbyterian Stadium like a couple years ago.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I remember when MTSU played Alabama week 1 year, and we got a lot of money. That's when we started doing all of our renovations and built a new concrete management building, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, look, we're here today to talk about the 53-man roster cut down that just happened Tuesday and Wednesday to make the waiver claims. Here we are sitting in Thursday night. How are we feeling? Did everything go as planned? Was there anything that really kind of caught you off guard? Maybe signing or 2? Isaiah, take it away.
We had football and we had players. And some players were cut.
Correct.
And that means they're no longer on the team.
Correct.
So basically, they don't have a job.
Yes.
But we brought them back on the practice squad, which means they can practice.
Squad.
And that basically means they can play football. And that's basically why I think it works.
And that's at Third and Teal on YouTube.
All right, enough of that. Yeah, so we had a pretty active offseason. We sat on our hands last year. We came in this year, and we definitely had a lot more of an aggressive approach. I think that, of course, they're saying like we got to be a draft and develop team. We actually kept a lot of our previous draft picks, even some later round guys this year that I was expecting to maybe get the boot. We basically brought back everyone that we cut or waived for the most part. I think 16 of the 17 total players were on the roster before the cuts. Unfortunately, that means Elijah Cooks came back, but you can't have everything you want. We did sign Luis Reese-Zammit. He was at practice today. That's that kid, the rugby Welsh kid from Welsh Navia or wherever. He is on the roster. They haven't designated as a wide receiver as of now. And I know he played kind of the running back, receiver, return man role for Kansas City. So that's going to be interesting to see. He ran a 4.43, 6'2". I mean, he's an athletic dude. I think we can probably get something out of him, but of course, it's a long shot for him to make it. He's in that IPP role, and so he doesn't technically take a roster spot. But I'm kind of concerned that the Chiefs got rid of him. Overall, though, I'm pretty happy with the roster. I think people freaked out about the Trevis Gibson trade. He didn't even have a sack in the preseason. He's like the only lineman that didn't. He got some cult following out of nowhere, and people were upset about it. I don't understand why. I think a lot of the young guys outplayed him, but overall, I'm pretty happy. One thing I was surprised about, 7 defensive tackles and only 4 DNs. And Eric Armstead's designated as a DN. We basically have 8 D tackles. Beathard's Beathard is finally gone. CJ Beathard is no longer on the team. We paid him an injury settlement. And Mac Jones cooked during the preseason. I'm pretty happy, though. I think the 53 looks good, but it's probably still not done. They'll probably have another couple of moves and cuts and whatever for between practice squad 53 and all that in the next couple of days and weeks.
Okay. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think there was quite a few surprises, honestly. I thought, they brought in quarterback Bean. I believe he was undrafted free agent. I thought he played better than Ellinger. I really thought he was going to be the third quarterback.
Was he flicking it out there pretty good?
He was flicking it out pretty good.
Okay. Good old Bean flick. Never hurt nobody.
But they did bring him back to the practice squad, so it is Richardson, Flacco, and Ellinger. Another big surprise was Evan Hull. They got him back to the practice squad. I really thought it was going to be Taylor, Sermon, and Hull, but they kept Goodson. I don't think there's really much of a surprise at wide receiver. Tight end, obviously, Jelani Woods hit season-ending IR, so I'm not sure if he will. He's still on a rookie contract, so I don't know if they'll cut him loose, but not a great start to his career. I don't think there's a whole lot of shocks on the offensive, defensive line. I think the biggest surprise, and there's been a little bit of development over the last couple of days, but there's a lot of chatter that I think 3 players in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round were waived, and people were trying to trash the Colts for it. And I'm like, people forget that they had 5 picks in those, 3 rounds. So I think they had a defensive tackle who had an uphill battle to make the roster anyway. He's on the practice squad. Jalen Simpson, I thought because he's another corner. I really thought he was going to make it. He's on the practice squad, but the biggest surprise at corner at the time was Darrell Baker, and Micah Abraham didn't make the team either, and he's not on the practice squad. But since then, Darrell Baker was released. I think the Titans actually grabbed him, so good luck with that.
Yeah.
And they got and the Colts got Samuel Womack. I'm not too familiar, but that's pretty much, I guess, all the biggest surprises.
Okay. Blake?
I will say there were not many surprises. It kind of went as predicted. I made roster predictions. I put that in the Rated R Titans group 2.0, and I checked back after final waivers, and it's pretty accurate. I didn't have Malik Willis making the roster. I thought he was going to get traded, and they did. And they got a 7th-round pick out of him, which honestly is worth more than I was happy with it. No. Rashad Weaver got cut. He's been in the Titans for a while. That was a mild shock. Hassan Haskins was terrible in preseason. He's a 3rd-round pick a few years ago, and he's gone. I think the Chargers picked him up. Braden Naverson, that was a guy that I got wrong. I thought we would keep him. He was the kicker that hit the 59-yarder, and then he followed that up with the 46-yard game winner against Seattle. I liked him a lot. He had a huge leg. He did miss like a 60-yarder, but I mean it is what it is.
Right.
And then what I really liked about him is that, kicker's all mental. All these guys got big legs mostly. And he was able to hit a game winner. It was a 46-yarder. And that was huge. And right when he hit that, I was like, yeah, this should be the Titans' future kicker, because Nick Folk's about 40 years old. I was like, this could be like a Brett Kern Stonehouse situation. I knew he wouldn't clear waivers. He went to Green Bay, and I bet he's going to have a pretty decent career there. Caleb Farley's finally gone. I'm so glad I don't talk about Caleb Farley anymore. One of my least favorite Titans of all time, just garbage. If it wasn't for Isaiah Wilson, he would be the biggest bust in Titans history. And then Mason Kinsey, he's going on his 18th year on practice squad. Titans cut him and then put him on P squad. One guy I was really rooting for, and I thought he'd make the team, was Eric Garror, because he could play safety, he could play nickel, he could play outside. He's very versatile. He's undrafted last year out of University of Louisiana, I believe. And then they cut him. He's not on the practice squad. I don't think he's with anybody right now. So I was kind of shocked. I mean, Titans signed 3 DBs to the practice squad, and we only have 4 corners on the active roster, which is currently the lowest actively in the NFL currently. So I expect the Titans to make more moves, probably pick up another corner. I don't know. I don't think this roster is done yet at all by week 1. We play Chicago.
Yeah. Do you think that means, before I get into the Texans thing, do you think that means that one of the safeties is going to be playing more of a slot role?
I think that's what Jamal Adams is going to do. I think Jamal Adams is going to play some weird position, just get after the quarterback, because he can't cover for shit. So I think he's just going to put pressure on the outside to force everything inside, put it toward giant ass Pierre Tart. I'm not sorry, not Pierre Tart. Rest in peace. T'Vondre Sweat. The name's rhyme, sorry. And then Jeffrey Simmons on the inside. So if you could push them toward those big dudes, then it's not a bad strategy if you're DC Denard Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only have 4 safeties on the roster and 5 corners. And one of the safeties is designated to play slot. So it's we don't have a lot either.
A lot of these positions, it kind of just reminds me of old school college, where the dude just played you're a linebacker, you're just a linebacker wherever. You're a DB, which puts you anywhere. Whereas whenever I was growing up watching football, if you're a free safety, you played free safety. If you're a strong safety, you played strong side, and there's really no moving
around. We picked up Matthew Jackson when you guys got rid of him, and he's one of those guys. It's listed as a linebacker, listed as a safety, listed as a corner. He just plays everything.
Yeah, he's solid. I was bummed that we cut him, and I was also bummed that he ended up with you guys, because that dude's a baller. I believe he was undrafted last year. Mm-hmm. He was just lighting it up in training camp. I think he led the team in interceptions in training camp. I mean, it's practice. He's going against threes, but he's going against Malik Willis. So take that with what you will. But he looked good. He didn't do a ton in the preseason, but he's still I still noticed him out there. So you guys got a baller. Yeah. I think we have somebody with really high upside, and obviously – he's already pretty low, so no risk.
Yeah. Well, as for the Texans, we've had an interesting offseason, bringing in big names such as Diggs. And before cut day, I think before training camp, we actually had 13 names in the wide receiver room alone. We trimmed that down to 7, which I thought was more than what I was expecting. We'd been doing preseason, pre-training camp roster projections for weeks, going by each position group, each episode. It's weird with the level of production that they kept Dameon Pierce, because he did not look good at all in the preseason, but maybe they're just chalking that up to him playing with backup offensive linemen instead of the starters the entire time. Because there were a lot of times where whoever they were playing, the edge would just be in the backfield before Dameon could even read the field. So
yeah, you're only good as your offensive line if you're running back.
Right. So they keep him, they keep Cam Akers, they keep Dare Ogunbowale, they keep a 5th running back in British Brooks, and cut Troy Hairston and Andrew Beck. British Brooks will be playing a fullback / running back position. They also only kept 3 tight ends. There is a little bit of positional versatility with Cade Stover there, but British Brooks is predominantly going to be the fullback. I would imagine that we're going to have to, if it doesn't go well, they're going to pull the plug on this pretty quick. He is an undrafted free agent, but that does add an interesting wrinkle to what they're trying to do here. The wide receiver room was crazy. As I mentioned, they had to go from 13 down to 7. That meant Noah Brown got the axe. Ben Skoranek did not make the team. Noah Brown is now presumably the wide receiver 2 in Washington right now because Jahan Dotson's been shipped up to Philadelphia. So it's crazy that the Texans' presumed wide receiver 4 is now wide receiver 2 on the Commanders, but we have a pretty solid wide receiver room. I think between obviously the top 3 being who they are, Diggs, Collins, and Tank, John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, Robert Woods, and Steven Sims are going to be getting a pretty healthy mix into the game. Steven Sims predominantly will be our punt returner, and I think Damian Pierce will be our kick returner. But Charlie Heck got cut. Cam Irvin made the practice squad over him when it came time to sign people back. Everybody thought that Case Keenum was going to be put on the practice squad, but instead he got hurt at some point in the 4th preseason game and is on season-ending IR, meaning there's only 2 quarterbacks on the roster, and that's CJ and Davis Mills. And then they brought in Caden Slovis, that I'm sure Jeff is familiar with, as our practice squad quarterback. Kind of surprised that Jeff Okudah still made the team, but I guess in the grand scheme of everything, he's one of 5 corners, and he would be a backup to either Stingley or Kamari Lassiter. And Jalen Petrie is playing more of a star position, is what they're calling it. So he's going to be playing in the box a lot more and playing a lot more nickel than he will be over top. It's basically the same way that Baylor used him. Houston is learning from that and using him in the same fashion. So there's a good chance that one of the 5 safeties we kept, presumably 3rd-round pick Kalen Bullock, will be getting a lot more reps at safety. So
Are y'all running the hybrid 3-3-5 or what are you hybrid 3-4? Like what are you running?
technically, based on statistics last season, the all NFL teams ran more plays out of nickel than they did out of their base formation.
Yeah.
So technically, base formation in the NFL is nickel. So that's how Houston addresses their roster.
Well, I'm saying like when you're watching the game,
Mm-hmm.
if you had to build it out and say it was 4-3-3-4, 3-3-5, so it's a 4-3, but are you walking a linebacker down and replacing a linebacker with the star position?
No. And that's in that scenario, Jalen Petrie is playing a natural safety, probably the strong safety. Well, actually, probably free because Jimmy Ward's not necessarily the best over top, but
yeah, interesting.
Remains to be seen. Yeah, I think D'Amico Ryans has got a lot of stuff cooking up for the defense, and Kamari Lassiter coming on as strong as he did to make it to a point where Jeff Okudah and CJ Henderson didn't even make the practice squad. To me, that's a shining example of how well Kamari Lassiter has been playing. All right, so with all of that, what is the weakest room for your team as of today? What is your biggest positional hole, I guess?
No question. Offensive line.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to say it's close between corner and safety for us. It's like I said, I would have really like Mike Abraham had a great eye for the ball. I really thought he was going to make the 53 man. I mean, I think they have 4 or 5 corners on the roster right now because it still shows Darrell Baker, but he's not even with the team. So I don't know if the guy that they got, what's his name, Samuel Womack, I'm not sure if he's on the 53 now. It hasn't been updated, but. Yeah. Either way, I mean, I really like Juju, but beyond that, like, of course, Kenny Moore, but he's our slot corner. So it's outside of him, it's like, Jalen Jones had flashes. Dallas Flowers hasn't looked great. So our corner room isn't great. Safeties, they didn't really address. Everyone was kind of harping for, Simmons. Ballard doesn't spend any money in free agency. So they're rolling, Blackman, Cross, Trevor Denbo, and Rodney Thomas, which is that whole secondary has me kind of nervous.
Yeah. Okay.
For the Titans, it's definitely the offensive line. Still, I mean, definitely improved over the years, but right guard, we have Dylan Radins. I mean, he's okay, but another year of just like patchwork offensive line. Then on the right tackle, Nicholas Petit-Frere, neither of them are very inspiring starters, and the depth's even worse. So that kind of terrifies me. Edge rusher is another one. Harold Landry's a dude, so I'm not worried about him. But opposite of him, we have Arden Key, who's fine. He'll get some sacks, but he's not going to get you double digits. And then to back them up, we have Caleb Murphy, who had like 77 sacks in like 3 years at Ferris State, and then he came as UDFA last year, made the team. He didn't play much, but when he did, he made an impact. So he's our third edge rusher. And then we got Jalen Harrell. He was a dude for a 7th round pick out of Michigan, and he has had a great career. He's coming to the preseason training camp, just lighting it up. So I mean, he could be good, but as of now, I mean, I haven't seen him do it in a regular season game. So he's still a weakness. He's undecided. I mean, yeah, it's great you're in good training camp and in preseason, but when you're playing against, starting right tackles and left tackles, like you got to be, it's different.
Yeah.
So yeah, offensive line, edge rushers are my big one. I would consider middle linebacker. But that was before we traded for Ernest Jones.
Valid.
So I actually feel pretty good there now.
Okay. Before I get into mine, how are we feeling about Ernest Jones? Do we know much about him?
I mean, he's a beast, man. He's not the best in coverage, but he's not bad by any means. He led inside linebackers in pressures last year, and also had 6.5 sacks from the inside position. And Denard Wilson, keeps saying he wants to blitz and blitz from different positions. So I think he could be a weapon with him and what's his name, Kenneth Murray. I mean, those are some fast inside linebackers. They're undersized, but the way the NFL is now, man, they really value speed. We can tackle you. So we have 2 really fast dudes there. And then Ernest Jones, I mean, the only concern with him, I mean, we traded him for peanuts. We gave a 5th round, and they gave us a 6th and him. The only issue with that is he may be a 1-year rental because he's in the final year of his rookie deal.
Yeah.
If we didn't pay Aziz Al-Shaair, his asking price of like $11 million, I doubt we'll do that with him. I guess we'll see how he does this year because he may even command $15 million for all we know, and I doubt Rand's going to pay that much money.
Yeah. Very possible. Very possible. Biggest hole, I think, for Houston is probably it's something that'll be fixed by like returns from injury and suspension. But at the moment, it's the interior defensive line. We've got Foloronzo Fotokasi, who is
Trash.
I'm sorry. Well, yeah, but he's
Trash.
Yeah. Well, he's also like not a pass rusher. But Danico Autry, who's on 6-game suspension, Mario Edwards Jr. from a couple years of a standout play in Tennessee, is going to be kind of filling in that role. He's about 6'4", 280. So he'll be kind of the 3 tech while Foloronzo is ideally the 1 tech. And beyond that, it is not very deep and at those 2 positions. Again, like I was mentioning earlier, that's basically our base formation. And I don't have a lot of faith in Mario Edwards Jr. at the moment. Kurt Heinisch is on IR, and short term, he should be back, as well as Christian Harris, who is on short term IR. And then again, 6-game suspension for Danico. That's my biggest hole at the moment. I don't think we did a whole hell of a lot to shore up the interior of the defensive line. Now, let's think here. So we're basically a week away from week 1. What is everybody knows who we're playing? The Texans are playing the Colts. Titans are playing the Bears?
Yeah.
And the Jags, who are we playing, Jags?
Miami.
Jags and yeah, that's right, the Dolphins. So what is something that gives you a little bit of worry right now from each of the teams that you're playing?
My biggest concern is going against Caleb Williams. Not because I think he's a great quarterback. It's just he's unknown. There's no real tape on him in the NFL. And I know it's a different team, but Mike Vrabel, we always lost against rookie quarterbacks. he beat Trevor Lawrence for his rookie year twice, and I think we beat Mac Jones maybe, and that was about it. Like everyone beat the Titans, every rookie quarterback. So I was terrified. So I kind of still have a little PTSD. So I think Caleb Williams could do really well, but I don't know. I don't really believe in him. I still don't buy the hype. I'm not a Caleb Williams guy. That's the biggest thing that kind of concerns me. And I think Adonze, he could be that dude. So that could, I don't know. I think it's just a lot of unknowns. It's such a young team. So I think they're just going into this game, and Titans are also a new team. So I think just the unexpected. That's kind of what I fear the most with this game. But I'm excited at the same time.
Okay. Isaiah?
I mean, probably like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You got to respect those guys. I think we have a solid secondary and good rangy safeties, but I mean that's definitely something that worries me a little bit. But I think that if the offensive line is indicative of how it normally is for them, Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker will have a good chance to get some good pass rush and affect Tua a little bit. But also, we have a really escalated interior D line compared to what we used to have, so it doesn't worry me as much. But those are the two guys I'd say I'm most worried about.
Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on what I was saying before about the secondary, that's the Texans receivers are probably what makes me the most nervous. I mean, there's some good. I mean, Stephon Diggs isn't necessarily young, but I mean he's still one of the top wide receivers. Y'all have a really good core, and y'all have a great young quarterback. So it's got to be y'all's receivers versus our secondary. But I mean, I think they've got a chance. I think the Colts have a great defensive line. Grover, Bugner, both are really good at getting at the quarterback too. And of course, adding Latu. The Ibukum injury hurts because he was, the top sacker for the Colts last year. But yeah, I mean, if they get pressure on C.J. Stroud in games where he has gotten pressured, he kind of buckled last year in some of those games. So they've got a chance. But if he's able to stand back there, it doesn't look good for the Colts secondary.
Yeah. The one position group at the moment that kind of gives me pause against the Colts is the defensive line, as you just mentioned. Houston's interior offensive line, while Shaq Mason started every game at right guard, Juice Scruggs missed a large portion of the season, and Kenyon Green didn't touch the field at all. So there's a lot of chemistry that has to be built. They haven't played with the starters at all during the preseason. There's going to be a lack of chemistry there. Laramie Tunsil hasn't played this preseason. So I imagine there's going to be some hiccups because Buckner and Grover are pretty damn solid defensive interior linemen. And you're going to be hard-pressed to make a young guy like Kenyon Green and Juice Scruggs. You're going to be hard-pressed to see them do well against that kind of tandem early on. And it just, again, we have the Colts so early in the season. It feels like we've had this matchup week one, like, I don't know, 3 out of the last 4 years or something. I don't know what that's all about, NFL schedules, but maybe don't. I don't know. Mix it up. Not a doctor. You guys got anything?
I hate this defense.
What defense?
Houston's defense.
What kind of defense is it?
It's a fucking. It's a 4-4 with a rotating down safety, and I hate it. They're basically just like rotating left and right. They're strong and free safety down into the box with the linebackers. They're just running 4 stacked behind 4, and then they're rotating the linebackers down depending on if they have a strong or a weak. And I hate it because it does help against the run game, but I hate it for the Texans as well because I know it's preseason, but there's been a couple of plays where they've been confused on who is supposed to be down, and they're like switching right before the play starts.
Yeah.
It's a pretty complicated defense, and so that could be something too that early in the season could affect you guys, because that was just interesting when you said they're playing him as a star. They're not playing him as a traditional star. They're playing him as more of a box linebacker that rotates back, but star nonetheless. And so that's something I would say that you guys are going to have to watch out for as well. Is that's a little bit of an overcomplicated defense, but once it clicks, that's going to be a really great defense for you guys with the athleticism y'all have and the players you have. But That's interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of that we talked about on the show as far as the secondary looking confused as hell at
Mhm.
times during the preseason because Jimmy Ward didn't play and Petrie only played sparingly.
Yeah.
At times it looked like Kalen Bullock was the only one in the secondary that knew what the hell was going on, and that's kind of crazy for a rookie. But that's why I think he is penciled in as safety 3. And then you have Eric Murray and NJ Stewart, who are the backups, special teams guys. So in my mind, in a nickel situation, it's Jalen Petrie, Kalen Bullock, and Jimmy Ward on the field at the same time. And they'll just be walking Petrie up.
Yeah, they are playing a lot of 1 high or 3
Cover 3.
3 verts. Jesus Christ, cover 3.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting as well, depending on how well those linebackers can cover. But no, I mean, I think it'll be a solid defense when everybody gets it. You got the starters out there, and that'll help the backups kind of learn it too. But that's a very interesting combo.
Yeah. Yep. And last season I think Houston was like top 3 in running cover 3 last season. So this little wrinkle is, I don't think it's going to change much as far as like how often cover 3 or cover 1 is really run, but I think it's just going to add a wrinkle into how it feels in real time. That's why Desmond King didn't even make the roster because Jalen Petrie was,
he can't run that.
No. Desmond King didn't make the roster because Jalen Petrie's position basically made him obsolete. And they already have return guys, so DK is somewhere floating around right now. But I'm sure if injuries happen, he'll find his way back to the team. All right. Okay, so we've said one thing that gives us pause, makes us worry. What is one thing we are extremely confident about against our opponent?
Trevor Lawrence and the wide receivers. I think the Dolphins secondary, especially the corner position, took a hit. I think Ramsey's been slowing down over the past couple of years. I think that Brian Thomas Jr. showed in the preseason that he's more than just a go ball guy. So I think that them not having tape on him, and then the fact that we've got Ridley, Gabe Davis, and Brian Thomas Jr. now out there, and we can sprinkle in a little bit of some Duvernay and Parker Washington. I think that'll help. I think they're going to stop us in the run, though. I don't think we're going to have a good run game at all. But I think if Trevor gets even a little bit of time, he'll be able to pick that secondary apart.
Duvernay is your return guy, I assume, right?
Not necessarily. He is one of the return guys, but Tank Bigsby, Parker Washington, and him have been the main return people.
Okay.
So he actually has been taking a decent bit of reps in the preseason at receiver, and I think we're going to use him more than the Ravens did.
When you're talking about your wide receiver room, you said Ridley. Did you mistake?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That was a mistake. No.
Another Ridley? I was like, is there another
No.
Ridley in the league?
No. Brian Thomas Jr., Gabe Davis, and Christian Kirk. And then Duvernay and Parker Washington.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Tim Jones can go die. But
Jeff?
Sorry, it was really quiet.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, like I said before, I really like the Colts. Their defensive line, their front seven as a whole. I really like the combination of Latu, obviously with the Ibuka injury. He's probably going to get a lot more playing time than he was anticipated. I think he was probably 50-60%. Now he's probably going to up.
Not as much come as we're used to seeing, huh?
Not as much Ibuka come. And I expect Kwity Paye to have a pretty good year. I mean, he's been getting better each year. He just hasn't really lived up to that first round pick that they got him at. But I also really like the running game the Colts bring to the table. If you remember the meeting with the Texans beginning of last year, Anthony Richardson, the Colts were on their way of routing the Texans. They had him up 28-10. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and a quarter and some change. So the run game in the first game went really well, and then Jonathan Taylor was back, and he ran for almost 200 yards in that last game. So I think the run game mixed with their front seven, I think Colts have a strong advantage at.
Okay. Blake?
This is going to sound weird because I don't think I've ever said I felt positive about this with the Titans.
Don't say it.
The wide receivers, but really just the play calling. I think Brian Callahan, I really do trust him. Just in the preseason, watching his play calls, I noticed there's a lot of screens, just a lot of quick passes, and that makes up for a bad offensive line. It's something that Tim Kelly and Todd Downing just couldn't adapt to. they would have whatever quarterback we had just take 3-step drops and just get murdered. Will Levis just boom getting out. Mason Rudolph and Malik Willis. They would freeze up a bunch, but you'd expect that. And they were, by the time they were in, it usually wasn't the best offensive line either. But I do feel good about that. I feel good about receivers. D-Hop and Ridley are awesome. Tyler Boyd and slot, like that's such a massive upgrade from what we had last year. Nick Westbrook-Akina is our receiver 4, and then first-round pick who's terrible, Treylon Burks is going to round out the group. But we also have Jaquan Jackson. I don't know how much playing time he'll get at receiver. He's mostly going to be our punt return guy, and he's a 6th-round pick out of Tulane, who's Tajay Spears' college roommate. He's been electric, so we might have gotten a steal there. But I do feel good about the offense, mostly the receivers and Will Levis' ability just to find his target, accept the check down, because first downs equate to touchdowns. So he doesn't always have to take the big pass, doesn't always have to just boom it downfield, but just take what the defense gives you. And I think Callahan's really been coaching that. So I'm pretty pumped for this offense, which is shocking.
I am pumped. The thing that I think the Texans have the biggest advantage on is the passing game against the Colts defense. Wait, I'm sorry. I mean, I feel like that's true, but I also feel like the Texans secondary is better than the Colts wide receiver room is. I think Derek Stingley is
Bold take, Cotton.
right. Well, I mean, I think Derek Stingley is, trying to prove himself as, a new top young corner. He had a really good season last year, and he's played really well in the limited time he's played in the preseason. But Kamari Laster is the focal point, in my opinion. He's going to be getting a lot of attention because he's the rookie, and they're going to try to pick on him. I think that there's a really solid shot that the Colts passing game can do little to nothing, and they will have to lean on the running game to have a good shot. As I said earlier, the defensive interior of the Texans right now is not the strongest. So, I mean, you would try to game plan to make that the case as something you exploit. But if they have to throw, I think the secondary is a lot better than the Texans secondary has been in a long time. And I think Kamari might struggle, but in 2 years as a starter at Georgia, there was only 2 games where he allowed more than 2 catches. That is pretty incredible, in my opinion, especially for a guy who had a slow 40 time. But we're playing a system that favors him. I think he'll blossom, and he'll be a really good addition to this team for the foreseeable future. Okay, so let's see here. What else? Let's get we don't need like wins, losses, but we're here on the other side of the 53-man roster. Let's hear who we now feel from each of us is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the division. Who wants to go first?
I think we're all going to say that our team's going to be first.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, probably. But
Jaguars at 1.
Okay.
Texans at 2. I think that could be like a 1 or 2 or like even record and one team beat the other. It was like some sort of divisional record thing.
Yeah.
Colts at 3, Titans at 4. I just don't know about the Titans offensive line and secondary enough to say they're going to push the Colts out of the 3 spot. And I don't know enough about the Colts secondary and if the wide receiver core is going to wake up and be what we think they can be.
Yeah.
But you do want to ask really quick, Jeff, the white menace, Mr. 6'3", 4.33 speed, Mr. I can't remember his name. That's why I'm saying all this bullshit. The dude from Cincinnati, the receiver, the number 14.
Alec Pierce.
Alec Pierce. That's the one. Yeah. He's
Yeah,
looked decent in preseason, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's actually, I saw him catching some balls.
Yeah,
For the
Yeah.
first.
yeah, he got
I think he
competition
could-
with
I
Adonai.
think he could wake up. Yeah, I think he could wake up this year, and it could be pretty decent. But I think there's a lot of unknown. But
Is this year 3 for him?
yes,
Yes.
Statistically, that's when receivers see the biggest jump in production. So, I mean,
So, That's me. I don't know that I can say that I've seen enough from the Titans yet to have them like push the Colts, but I still think it's going to be Jags, Texans, Colts, Titans for now.
Okay, Jeffrey.
I think I've said and been pretty consistent with it. I think this division could easily have 3 teams that have a winning record. I think it'll be really close. I don't see any team pulling away 13, 14, 15 wins, and I don't see anybody winning the division with 9 or 10 either. So I feel like it'll be like, of course, I'm going to say the Colts at first. I'm going to homer it, but I on our show, I think I said 11-6 or 12-5, somewhere in there.
Oh God! All right. Wow.
Hey, Alex, we all agreed on it. All right.
I mean, of course,
We did a whole show on it. And I had the Texans, I think, winning 10, and I think Jacksonville at 9 or 10, and I had Tennessee at like 4 or 5. I'm pretty low.
Yeah. Okay. It's insane, but okay.
We'll see.
Blakemus.
I have the Texans winning it, Titans second. It's a toss-up with you two. I don't know enough about AR, so I would say that Jags are going to be third and Colts are fourth. I think the Titans roster is just too talented for them to win 3 or 4 games. Like, there's just no way. I do agree, though, that I think there are going to be 3 teams with winning records, or like we're not going to know who's going to win this division. Like, it's going to be a fight every single week.
Yeah, it very well may come down to the end of the season to figure out who wins this division.
If you weren't here at 6-11, don't come back at 7-10.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, yeah, that's not too outside of the realm of possibilities, I guess. I feel like if the Jags come in third and the Colts come in fourth, injuries had to play a role in both of those outcomes. Like, Trevor Lawrence would have had to, like, I don't know, die, I guess, because they can't take him off the field.
Yeah, Mac Jones.
No, we have Mac Jones now. We can actually sit Trevor and like against semi-okay opponents. Be like, yeah, Trevor, you can take this one off. Instead of being like, not throw him back out there. Like Panthers, throw him back out there. Concussion, meh, throw him out there.
He's good. Give him the smelling salts.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
The bath salts.
For me, I think it's a very similar look to the way it looked last season. I think the wins and losses could be a little different, but I think the general structuring of how it went down is pretty similar. I could see the Texans winning the division and then the Jags being like a half a game or a game behind, and then Colts, Titans. I think, like, at the end of the day, I'm not super sold on what AR has done in 4.5 quarters. He's looked great at times and he's looked pedestrian at others. So it's kind of, he's a very hot and cold guy. I think if the Colts do well, it's because he got hot and stayed hot. If they don't do well, I think it's because he either got hurt early and Joe Flacco can't recapture the magic from last season, or, Anthony Richardson's just ice cold the entire season. But I don't have a lot of faith in the Titans. I think it's the reason I think the Titans would be fourth is probably because of the defense, the secondary. I feel like with the secondary, it's going to have to be a lot of shootouts that the Titans are going to have to win. They do have the offensive firepower to do that in theory. That's why if they make, 8-9 wins, it's because of the offense and not because of the defense doing anything to help.
See, I think the secondary is great. This is the best it's looked in a long time. because we have L'Jarius Sneed, who's a top 10 corner. Chidobe Awuzie, who's pretty damn good. We have one of the better slot corners in the league, Roger McCreary. And then Amani Hooker, who's been balling out his whole career. And then we have Quandre Diggs we signed.
Right.
And then we have Jamal Adams too. I actually really love our secondary.
I think it's improved, but I haven't seen them all playing together. And I know Sneed has had a phenomenal career to this point. Been one of the best corners in the league for a while. It's a new system. Maybe they don't use him the exact same way, and it doesn't flatter his play the same type of way. I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah, in my opinion, Chidobe Awuzie is trash. Like, he's a decent run defender. He's always been a terrible coverage guy.
Yeah, he's just slow.
Since he was with the Colts, he's always allowed, or not the Colts, the Cowboys. He's always allowed like 100 to 115 passer rating, roughly. And he's
really good in Cincinnati.
I mean, he averaged a 112.8 passer rating against him and had like, how many touchdowns scored? A lot of touchdowns. 3. It's not a lot, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. 68% completion percentage against him.
We all got question marks as I guess the underlying theme here, but
Snead's good though. I like Snead.
Snead is solid. We shall see though. I think if that's the way it shakes out, Texans, Jags, Colts, Titans, those are the reasons why it shakes out that way. Does anybody have anything else? Anything else?
North Dakota State is beating Colorado right now. It's kind of funny.
How much are they beating them by now? And
it's only 3, but
20 to
it looks like
17.
Colorado's about to score. So they might take it, but still, it's third quarter. That's sad for your Deion Sanders statement.
Yeah, he's pissed right now, I can imagine. He's like,
Yeah,
I lost toes for this shit.
He's going to have to cut off another toe.
Yeah.
Right.
NC State's also getting beat by West Carolina right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
NC State's supposed to be really good this year.
Yeah, like 24 right now.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's the only good thing about week 1 is there always are those crazy upsets. Like Florida State losing too.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't that crazy. They're honestly terrible.
Well, I mean, apparently this particular season, they supposedly have some of the, like, that's a preseason ranking because of the way that everybody is ranked as a recruit. So, I mean, like, in theory, they're supposed to be good on paper, but clearly not.
Yeah, the same O-line that got Jordan Travis sidelined for the rest of the season is the starting O-line. So, like, that tells you enough.
Seriously?
Yeah, they have, like, all seniors on their O-line right now.
Jesus.
Shedeur Sanders just threw a pick at the 1.
He's terrible. He's the highest rated quarterback in NCAA.
I will say it was a deflection, but still, it's unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
It was still terrible thrown.
Deion's going to have a lot of
no, that's going to be reviewed. Never mind. That's not sick.
Dun, 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 dun. The plot thickens.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this is a pretty good spot to go ahead and wrap this sucker up. I know Brandon Ayuk just got that big deal, 4 years, like a $76 million guaranteed.
Yeah, I think it's $140 million total.
Yeah, what a terrible contract.
Yeah.
Well,
I should have traded him.
They should have, but I feel like
he wouldn't agree to anything.
Yeah, like he didn't want to go to Pittsburgh because who's going to throw him the ball? And then who else was trying to
Le'Veon?
The Browns.
I'd be a Le'Veon. Yeah. I would just sit him out.
I just don't think the Browns contract touched him enough. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
Elaborate.
It's more of over the pants. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, let's go ahead and wrap this sucker up. Folks, if you're a Texans fan, a Jags fan, a Colts fan, or a Titans fan, go check out our individual pods. You can check out Isaiah and his crew at Third and Teal. You can check out Jeff and his crew at Unstabled One. You can check out the Titans crew at Titans Takeaways One. And you can check out the Texans crew that I lead, That Real Texas Team Podcast. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. Blake will be our official writer for CPN when we get our website launched. So just be on the lookout for those things.
Excited for that. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So, folks, hit the notification bell. I'd like to get this channel up to 460 subscribers by the start of the new season. Hopefully, we can get that with a little bit of help. So hit the notification bell. Don't miss any future content. Be good people.